My name is Emma. For years, I thought I had the perfect marriage. Daniel was my everything, my best friend, my partner, my safe place. We built a home together, a life that seemed unshakable. At least, that's what I believed. But then, the cracks began to show. It started small. Late nights at the office, phone calls he didn't take in front of me. His laughter, once so free, now sounded forced when he was with me. He would smile at his phone, and when I walked into the room, the smile would disappear. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. I convinced myself he was just stressed, just tired. But in my heart, I felt it, that sharp whisper no one wants to hear. Something is wrong. One night, I reached for his jacket to wash it, and something slipped out of the pocket. A receipt. Dinner for two at a restaurant we had never been to. A date, but not with me. I remember staring at that piece of paper, my hand shaking, my heart breaking. My mind screamed, no, this can't be real. But deep inside, I already knew. The next day, I decided to test him. I asked how his night at work had been. He kissed my forehead and said, busy but worth it. That was the moment. The exact second I realized the man I loved was lying to me. So I followed him. I remember sitting in my car, hidden in the shadows, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight they turned white. My chest hurt with every breath as I watched him walk into a restaurant. And then I saw her, a woman, beautiful, younger than me. He greeted her with the kind of smile he hadn't given me in years. And when he held her hand, when he kissed it across the table, my world collapsed. I wanted to scream. I wanted to burst inside that restaurant and throw everything in his face. But I didn't. I sat there, silent, frozen. My tears blurred the glass, but my eyes never left him. That night, something inside me died, and something else was born. If Daniel thought he could destroy me, he was wrong. He had no idea who I was about to become. I drove home that night with tears blinding my vision. Every red light felt like a punishment. Every memory of Daniel's promises echoed in my mind like cruel jokes. When I reached home, he was already there, sitting on the couch, smiling at me as if nothing had happened. He kissed my cheek, and I wanted to vomit. His lips still carried the touch of another woman. I didn't confront him, not yet. Instead, I asked calmly, how was work? He replied with the same calmness, busy but worth it. That lie, that one lie, told me everything I needed to know. In that moment, I realized something. Shouting wouldn't help me. Crying wouldn't change him. But silence could be my weapon. For the next few days, I became the perfect wife, smiling, cooking, asking about his day, pretending. And all the while, I collected proof, screenshots of his messages, receipts, photographs. I built my case carefully, like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Daniel had no idea. He thought I was blind, but I saw everything. Part 3. The planning phase. I began planning my revenge like an architect designs a building.
With which you can direct a voice, create realistic dialogue, and so much more. Edit these placeholders to get started.
I began planning my revenge like an architect designs a building, with patience and precision. Daniel had always underestimated me. He thought I was fragile, too soft to fight back. But he forgot. Even glass can cut deep when broken. I played the part of the loyal wife. I laughed at his jokes. I kissed him goodnight. I became the perfect mask, and behind that mask, I sharpened my knives. Every day, I recorded something new: his phone calls, his credit card charges, even the perfume scent he tried to wash off. Then I made my move. I invited his family, his closest friends, even his boss to our anniversary dinner. Daniel thought I was celebrating our love, but I was preparing his funeral. Not of his life, but of his reputation. The night of our anniversary arrived. The house was glowing with candles, laughter filled the air, and Daniel looked proud, proud of his beautiful wife and the perfect life he thought he had. Our guests toasted to love, to loyalty, to forever. And Daniel played along, raising his glass, kissing my cheek. I almost laughed. Then it was my turn to speak. I stood, smiling, my hands trembling, not with fear, but with anticipation. Tonight, I said, I want to celebrate truth, because without truth, love is just a lie. The room grew quiet. Daniel looked at me, confused. I pressed a button on the remote, and the projector lit up the wall. One by one, pictures appeared. Daniel with her, his hand in hers, their laughter, their kisses. Gasps filled the room. Chairs scraped against the floor. His mother covered her mouth in shock. His boss lowered his glass slowly. And Daniel, his face turned pale, his body frozen. In that silence, I felt powerful. For once, the pain was his. Daniel stammered, trying to speak. Emma, I, I can explain." The other woman stormed out, her heels clicking against the floor like gunshots. Everyone stared. His friends, his family, his boss. The perfect mask he had worn for years, shattered in a single night. I turned to him, smiling softly. "You don't need to explain, Daniel. The truth already did." He begged, he cried, but I walked away. My heart no longer ached. I felt light, free. But my revenge wasn't just about humiliation. I had planned deeper. Weeks before, I had met with the lawyer. Every document was ready. Divorce papers filed. Assets transferred. The house, the car, the savings, all legally mine. When I closed the door behind me that night, Daniel had lost more than his dignity. He had lost everything. And I had gained myself back. People ask me if I regret it, if I regret the years I gave him. The answer is no, because those years taught me the most important lesson of all. Love without honesty is just a pretty lie, and lies always collapse. Daniel thought he could break me, but in the end, it was his own choices that destroyed him. And me? I walked away with my dignity, and dignity is the sweetest revenge. 3 days later, Emily's phone buzzed with a message from the investigator. "I have something you'll want to see." Her hands shook as she opened the email attachment. There, in high definition, were photographs of James. He wasn't at work late at night. He wasn't closing business deals. He was with her, the other woman. They were walking side by side, holding hands like teenagers. In one picture, he leaned in close, whispering in her ear. In another, they kissed before entering a hotel. Emily's heart pounded as she scrolled through each image. Every photo was a dagger, but also confirmation. She had doubted her instincts, but now the truth was undeniable. The man she trusted had betrayed her in the cruelest way. She saved the photos carefully, storing them in multiple places. She would not let him escape this. James thought he was untouchable, But Emily now held the weapon of truth. For hours, she sat in silence, staring at those pictures. The pain was raw, the betrayal sharp. Yet, strangely beneath it all, she felt a calm determination. For the first time in weeks, she knew exactly what she had to do. Revenge was no longer an idea, it was a plan. That night, Emily sat alone in the living room. The investigator's photos spread out on the table. Her hands traced the images, not with love, but with bitterness. Each smile James gave to that woman once belonged to her. Each touch he shared was stolen from their marriage. Memories of their life together flooded her mind. The wedding vows, the first apartment, late-night drives, promises whispered in the dark. Were they all lies? Did he ever truly love her, or had she simply been convenient until something more exciting came along? Her tears turned to anger. She realized that begging for his love would be useless. Confrontation wouldn't heal the wounds. He needed to feel the weight of his choices. He needed to be exposed. Emily whispered to herself, "You broke me, James, but you will not destroy me. I will rise from this, and I will make sure the world sees you for who you truly are." For the first time, she looked in the mirror and didn't see a victim. She saw a woman with power, power that came from knowing the truth. That night, Emily didn't cry herself to sleep. She began planning how she would use her pain to destroy the men who betrayed her. The 10th anniversary loomed closer. For James, it was an occasion to flaunt his happy marriage. For Emily, it became the perfect battlefield. She decided the party she had already been planning would serve a different purpose now. What was once meant to celebrate love would instead reveal betrayal. But Emily knew she had to play her role carefully. If James suspected anything, her plan would fail. So she continued her preparations with a smile. She booked a beautiful hall, ordered expensive catering, and sent out elegant invitations. Friends, family, and James's business partners all received them. Everyone believed it was a grand celebration of love. No one knew it was a trap. Behind the scenes, Emily worked on something else, a video montage. She started with pictures of their wedding, family vacations, anniversaries past, all carefully chosen to create a sense of warmth and trust. But halfway through, she inserted the photographs from the investigator. The happy memories would shatter, replaced by undeniable proof of betrayal. As she edited the video late at night, Emily's face was calm, her heart steady. She whispered, "On our anniversary, James, I will give you the gift you deserve. Not love, not devotion, but truth." James grew more careless with each passing day. He believed his secrets were buried under excuses of late meetings and urgent projects. Emily, however, had mastered the art of pretending. She laughed at his jokes, nodded at his stories, and tucked away her anger behind gentle smiles. At times, James sensed something strange in her silence. He would glance at her across the dinner table, his brow furrowed, as if wondering whether she knew. But Emily never slipped. She played her role so well that James convinced himself she was still blind to his lies. Behind closed doors, Emily kept replaying the plan in her mind. Every lie he spoke now felt like fuel for her revenge. She would not confront him directly. No screaming, no begging. She would let him walk right into the trap she had prepared. Still, there were moments of weakness. At night, when James turned his back to her in bed, Emily whispered to herself, "Was I never enough?" The pain was still there, sharp and unrelenting. But each whisper of doubt was silenced by her determination. Revenge was the only cure she had left. The anniversary date drew closer, and with it, Emily's resolve hardened. She finalized the guest list, making sure every person who mattered in James's life would be there. Friends, family, colleagues, even his strict boss. She wanted the exposure to be absolute, a stage from which James could never recover. She spent her days organizing details, but her nights were consumed with quiet plotting. She tested the projector, rehearsed her speech, and ensured the photographs from the investigator were hidden deep inside the video montage, ready to strike when no one expected. Meanwhile, James was smug. He thought his loyal wife was pouring her heart into the anniversary celebration out of pure devotion. He even bragged to his mistress, saying, "Emily would never suspect. She lives for me." The irony made Emily smile when she overheard him on the phone one night. She didn't confront him, not yet. Every step she took felt like walking closer to a storm she herself had summoned. She knew once the truth was revealed, there would be no going back. But Emily wasn't afraid. She wanted destruction, and she would be the one holding the match. Though Emily carried her burden alone, she confided in one person, her childhood friend, Sarah. One evening, she invited Sarah over, pouring them both a glass of wine before opening the laptop. When Sarah saw the photographs, her eyes widened in shock. "Oh my God, Emily, this is undeniable," Sarah whispered. Emily nodded, her face calm but her eyes burning. "I needed someone I trust to know, just in case things get dangerous." Sarah grabbed her hand tightly. "You don't deserve this. But are you sure about your plan? It could ruin everything." "That's the point," Emily said coldly. "He ruined us the moment he betrayed me. I won't let him walk away as if nothing happened." Sarah promised to stand by her, offering silent strength. For the first time, Emily felt less alone. Knowing someone else shared the weight gave her courage. Later that night, as Sarah left, she turned back and said, "Make him regret underestimating you." Emily smiled faintly. The time for pain was over. The time for war had arrived. The night before the anniversary, Emily sat in her bedroom, staring at the elegant dress she had chosen. It was white, the color of purity and peace. But for her, it symbolized something else: rebirth. Tomorrow, she would no longer be the Emily who sacrificed and suffered. Tomorrow, she would rise from the ashes of betrayal. James was unusually affectionate that night, perhaps out of guilt, perhaps out of arrogance. He kissed her forehead, telling her, "Tomorrow will be unforgettable." Emily almost laughed at the irony. If only he knew what unforgettable truly meant. As James drifted to sleep, Emily stayed awake, rehearsing her lines in front of the mirror. Her voice was steady, her words sharp, the speech she would deliver once the video exposed the truth. She imagined the shock on his face, the whispers of the guests, the shame that would crush him. For years, she had been the quiet, loyal wife, but tomorrow, she would be the woman who took her power back. The calm before the storm was over. By sunrise, the storm would break. The hall glittered with golden lights as guests arrived, dressed in their finest. Laughter echoed, glasses clinked, and everyone admired the beautiful setup Emily had arranged. To them, it was a celebration of love. To Emily, it was the stage for revenge. James played the role of the proud husband, shaking hands, smiling widely, and wrapping his arm around Emily for photos. He whispered sweet words into her ear, words that once would have melted her heart. Now they were empty, meaningless lies. As the evening progressed, Emily moved gracefully among the guests, making sure everything ran smoothly. Inside, her heart pounded. The moment was near. Finally, the lights dimmed, and Emily took the microphone. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began, her voice steady. "Tonight is special, not just because it marks 10 years of marriage, but because it reveals the truth about what those years have really meant." Guests exchanged curious glances. James smiled nervously, unsure of her tone. The projector flickered to life. At first, the screen showed their wedding photos, happy memories, family vacations. Laughter filled the room. But soon, the images changed. Photographs of James with the other woman, holding hands, kissing, walking into hotels. The room fell silent. Gasps erupted, and James's face turned pale as his world began to crumble. The hall was frozen. The photographs lingered on the giant screen, each one burning into the minds of the stunned guests. James's boss whispered to a colleague. His parents covered their mouths in shock, and friends avoided meeting Emily's eyes. James stumbled to his feet. This isn't what it looks like," he stammered, sweat glistening on his forehead. But the evidence spoke louder than any excuse. His desperate voice cracked in the heavy silence. Emily stood calmly at the microphone, her eyes cold. "For years, I believed in this marriage. I gave everything, my love, my loyalty, my life. And in return, this is how James honored me." Murmurs spread across the crowd. Some guests shook their heads in disgust. Others whispered about the cruelty of betrayal. James tried to approach Emily, but she stepped back, lifting her hand. "No, James, tonight isn't about your excuses. Tonight is about truth, and truth is the one thing you could never give me." The silence shattered into applause, not of celebration, but of solidarity with Emily. James looked around the room, realizing the respect he once held had collapsed in an instant. James tried to regain control. "Emily, please, let's talk about this privately. Don't humiliate me like this." His voice trembled, more from fear than shame. Emily's laughter was soft, but sharp enough to cut through him. "Humiliate you? You did that yourself. I'm simply letting everyone see the man I've been married to." Gasps rippled through the guests again. James's mistress, who had dared to attend secretly, shrank into the crowd, her face hidden. But Emily noticed her, and their eyes met for a brief second. The woman quickly looked away, ashamed. James's mask slipped completely. He raised his voice, desperation turning into anger. "You planned this? You wanted to destroy me?" Emily held his gaze, unflinching. "No, James, I wanted to save us. You destroyed us. I'm just finishing what you started." The words cut deeper than any blade. James's shoulders slunked, his pride shattered. Around him, whispers turned into judgment. He had lost not just his wife, but his reputation, his dignity, his carefully constructed lies. The party ended in chaos. Guests left in hushed groups, some pausing to embrace Emily, others glaring at James as they walked past. His boss shook his head in disappointment, muttering about ethics and unprofessionalism. James sat slumped in a chair, face buried in his hands. For the first time, the arrogance was gone. He looked small, broken, powerless. Emily walked past him slowly, her heels clicking against the polished floor. She didn't stop. Outside, Sarah waited by the car. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Emily inhaled deeply, the night air filling her lungs. For the first time in years, yes, she whispered. At home, Emily carefully removed her dress and placed it on the hanger. She stood before the mirror, staring at the woman reflected back. No longer a victim. No longer a wife defined by betrayal. She was something new. Stronger, wiser, reborn. The ashes of her marriage lay behind her. Ahead was a future she would build on her own terms. Days turned into weeks. News of the anniversary scandal spread like wildfire through their community. James lost business contracts, his boss suspended him, and his reputation never recovered. The mistress vanished from sight, unwilling to carry the weight of his downfall. Emily, however, rose above the wreckage. She filed for divorce, her lawyers armed with undeniable proof of betrayal. The court favored her, granting her the house, financial support, and, most importantly, her freedom. James tried calling her, leaving voicemails filled with apologies, pleas, and half-hearted excuses. Emily never answered. His words no longer had power over her. She had already buried the man she once loved. Instead of bitterness, Emily found peace. She reconnected with old friends, pursued hobbies she once abandoned, and even considered traveling, something James had always discouraged. For the first time, she felt alive. The price of betrayal had been paid. James lost everything. Emily gained herself. One evening, Emily drove out to the edge of the city, where the Sindra Mountains loomed high against the horizon. She climbed a quiet trail, the crisp wind brushing against her face, carrying away the last traces of sorrow. At the peak, she looked out across the endless valleys, the sun setting in fiery gold. It felt symbolic, the death of her old life and the birth of something new. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I was broken, but not defeated, betrayed, but not destroyed. James thought he ended me. Instead, he gave me a reason to rise higher than ever before." A tear slid down her cheek, not of pain, but of release. She no longer carried the weight of his lies. The mountain stood tall, unshaken, just as she now stood unshaken in her strength. Turning back, Emily smiled softly. The world below awaited her, full of possibilities, full of freedom. The storm was over. She had survived, she had conquered, and now she would live. As she descended the mountain path, her heart was light. Revenge had given her closure, but her true victory was reclaiming herself. Emily was free.